Hi, guys, and welcome back to Too Much. My first time back in the studios in 2026. Very exciting. The last episode was with Nico from Daddy Academy. It was my first man, boy, guy in the studio. I kept calling him a boy, and I felt kind of bad because I was like, you're a man. I'll give you that. That is not a title I give out easily. But you guys really liked the episode, and that made me really happy. So I feel like it's kind of a perspective that I'm going to try to bring in a bit more because typically when I have women on that are in the same field as me, talking about relationships and dating, like we typically talk about a lot of the same things and we agree on everything. I don't feel like it's bringing a new perspective, I guess, to the table. So I think what I'm going to explore in the future, if it comes to someone in this space, it's like they have to be an expert in like a niche thing or psychologist, therapist, whatever, things like that, or someone with a story to tell. Obviously, like that's my favorite type of guest to bring on. But I think the whole man thing is great. And there's a lot more to explore there. So thanks for tuning into that. And if you haven't yet, I would definitely go back and listen to it because it was a great episode. We talked a lot about love bombing and we touched on the topic for today's episode, which is future faking. Since my breakup and since I started dating again, it's been what, 2 months? 2 months and 6 days of dating. I'm realizing that this is such a common theme among guys. And, love bombing has always been a thing, but specifically future faking is more prominent than I think it's ever been. And I don't know if you are on this side of the algorithm as on Instagram and TikTok and stuff, but I'm seeing a lot of like articles being written about it too. And I even saw one post yesterday, I forget by which magazine, but it said future faking, the latest trend. And I'm like, it's not bell-bottom jeans. I don't really know why we're calling it a trend, but I guess that's true. It is something that is so common and taking the dating world by storm. And unlike something that's a fad or a trend, this has been going on forever. This is not new. It's not a new concept. It's not something new that people are doing. But I do think there's a surge in future faking. It reminds me of when the word narcissist really started getting thrown around on social media. And suddenly any man who hears the word narcissist is like, fuck you. We're not narcissists. They seem to be getting very triggered in the same way with future faking. And to that, I like to say, whoever smelt it, dealt it. If you are so triggered by this, maybe it's because you're doing it. So today's episode, I'm not only going to talk about what is future faking and the effect of future faking, but also a little PSA to guys of like, stop and why you should stop. And then for the women, how you can spot it and shut it down respectfully. And again, I am probably going to be, explaining this in the man v woman dynamic, but this happens just in relationships. When someone is trying to, I was about to say court, but it's really not courting. So when someone is trying to secure someone else, like it could be any sexuality, but it's just kind of the pursuer and the pursuant, the prey and the predator, but not in like an illegal way. Huh. Guys, I got back from Miami 3 days ago. I am like 2 days sober. It's great. It's great. Things are going really well. Anyways, let's go down this fucking deep, dark rabbit hole, shall we? So what the fuck is future faking? I feel like I'm hosting a TBS show when I kick off ones like this, but hey, these are my 101 episodes. This is how it works. Future faking is when someone uses plans, promises, or even just language about a shared future together, even though there is no indication of one, just to create an emotional closeness in the present. And it is said without having any proof of intention or capacity to actually follow through. It can show up anywhere from a first date to the early stages of dating. And it's big talk about commitment, longevity, future plans, and it feels exciting and flattering. But there is quite literally no data to back it up. It is literally a fake future. It's not real. So why do they do it? It's about securing access to you, securing your attention and your emotional investment right now by holding a carrot in front of you about a future that you need to work towards. It's not them being sweet. It's not optimism. It's not vulnerability. It's not love. Future faking is the illusion of certainty without the work of consistency. And it leaves the receiver latched onto a future that nobody had any intention of actually building. Future faking keeps you emotionally invested while the other person stays uncommitted. And they are just performing the romance without the actual emotional labor that it takes to earn your trust to have that. But something that we touched on in the last episode with Nico was that most future fakers don't actually know that they're doing it. They don't even know that they're lying. They believe the fantasy in the moment, and they want to live out their fantasies too. Just as it's nice and fun to daydream, they could be feeling the same thing. It's like playing house without the mortgage. But intention without follow through, those sweet nothings, are still harmful. Future faking is actually psychologically harmful to the person who's on the receiving end of it. Number one is that it creates a false sense of emotional safety because the receiver thinks that you will be around in the future because you said this plan is going to happen. You said this future is on its way. So they feel like, I'm good. It's a false sense of emotional safety. And then it accelerates attachment because, like I said, they will latch on to the future faker's promised fantasy. And then they end up overinvesting themselves because they're like, well, that's the future I want. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it, even if that means sacrificing my self-respect, which then leads to people overriding their own intuition in hopes that they can make that future come true. That fake fucking future. That's what pisses me off so much about the whole thing. It's like, it's just a carrot. I want to sit here and say like this future that's here, and it's like, it was fake. It was an idea. It was a lie. And it quite literally could cause someone to put their life on hold, to overinvest, to self-abandon, overcommit, and give up their independence just because they think that this person was telling the truth. And it keeps women stuck far longer than they should be. And then when it finally, inevitably crashes and burns because it was all built on a shallow facade, it leaves the receiver, it leaves the woman with confusion rather than closure. She's left with, well, what about everything you said? And then what happens? We no longer believe a goddamn word out of anyone's mouth. And then suddenly we're jaded and we're cynical because we don't trust anyone anymore. So future faking is not harmless. It's actually quite harmful. It can fuck up someone's perception of people who are actually trying to do right by them and be good people. It can eventually make you blind to an amazing person that's standing right in front of you and actually wants to have a healthy, stable relationship. But because we've seen this so often before, we won't even allow it. We won't even entertain the conversations. And I am saying we because, ladies, I'm here with you and right back into it. But the worst part of it all is that future faking does not break hearts. It breaks your self-trust. So yes, while we're losing trust in the men and what they're saying, we sit there and start to doubt our own judgment and our intuition instead of just the behavior that we're on the receiving end of. Because why was I able to believe that? How could I have been so stupid? That's what we as women do. We typically blame ourselves. At least I do. And then once it's a repeated pattern, I mean, we that's how we train our brains to work because of the data. And that kind of, what did I do wrong? How did I get myself into this situation? That kind of self-blame really messes you up. You see people going through such dating fatigue because they get their hopes up and then they're just disappointed time and time again. I mean, this is why I formed my hyper independence. It wasn't because of love bombing and future faking, but it's that same feeling of I've been let down so many times that I'm just going to teach myself to be good on my own. I will train myself to not need anyone, which is quite literally the saddest thing in the entire world that you could possibly say about love and relationships and trying to get in one. It's fucking sad. When someone ghosts you after love bombing you with future faking, the most confusing part is not that you are grieving a person. You grieve a future you thought they were going to give you, but that they never had any intention on building. So you're grieving a potential, you're grieving an idea, which is not tangible, it's not real, and it's just something that you created in your head. So on top of probably the initial spiral of your imagination running wild and getting excited about what this probably a stranger filled your head with, you've attached yourself to that based on no emotional labor, based on no consistency, no data, no work. And then they just leave you and you're just like, what the fuck? How did I get here? I'm smarter than this. And then there's the negative self-talk, and then there's that spiral and that confusion. The hardest breakup is not the one with a person. It's with the imaginary version of them that you made up in your head and the imaginary future that you thought you were going to have. So what we need to realize and brainwash ourselves to understand is that anyone can imagine a life with you, but not everyone is willing to show up consistently enough to actually build it. So it's all really depressing. And I think it's more prevalent now more than ever. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, of course, it's been around forever and used as a manipulation tactic, whether you're actually a narcissist or not. But I think now with social media, it's gotten even worse because women specifically can see the life that they want. They can see some other guy who has it and can give it to them, or they see a girl who's being given that life that they want. So men are kind of feeling this need to compete with that and say, well, I can give you that too, even if they can't. And I want to be so clear also that future faking is not the same thing as expressing the life you want for yourself. Future faking is not me saying, I can see myself moving out of the city one day and having 3 kids and blah, blah, blah. That's not future faking. Because what I just did was I said, I can see myself moving out of the city one day. And it is okay to share that sentiment with someone that you are just starting to see. But where it gets toxic is when you say, I could so see us moving out of the city one day and we would have the cutest kids. It's the we and the us before there is any sort of emotional security to be having that conversation. So yes, talking about the future you want for yourself is not toxic. It's when you start talking about a shared life together before it's actually earned. That's toxic. So I do feel like with social media now, it's more of these superficial materialistic things that people are trying to promise. And when I was younger, I ate that shit up. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was a love bombing tactic. I didn't know that it was manipulation. I didn't know it had a name. Because when someone would tell me that they want to take me on a trip 10 minutes after knowing me, I was like, of course you do. I'm amazing. I deserve this. I didn't for a second sit there and say, this is a huge fucking red flag. I was like, I'm a princess. This is the life I deserve. Yes. Tell me all the things you're going to buy me. Tell me all the places you're going to take me. And that was part of being young and naive and whatever. Now I've learned, but it still fucking happens. And I thought after my 2 years of inner work via podcast So I guess not really inner work, my outer work. I thought I was going to be above it. I thought that I was going to be impervious to it and that nobody can love bomb me now because I'm aware of it. Silly Emma. Tricks are for boys. I touched on this a little bit in the episode of Nico, but I thought I would share with you this insane fucking lore that I just went through. It was probably the worst case of future faking and love bombing I've ever experienced in my entire life. So here we go. Miami. This happened like over a month ago, literally right when I got out of the relationship. So I was a bit vulnerable. You know, I was kind of just excited and wanted to see what was out there. Wish I didn't. But okay. So it was Art Basel. And I was at this club, bar, whatever. Moral of the story is that you could ride your yachts up to this club. And all the VIP tables were in this area that backed up directly to the marina. So it was kind of just like tables, the wall, and you could like sit up on the wall, and like this is kind of where your like bench was for your table, and that's where the DJ booth was. And then it backed up to all these yachts. So we're at this party. We had gotten there kind of early because that's what we were told to do for our table. And all of a sudden, this yacht pulls up. And I shit you not, about 12 hot guys stepped off of it. I don't even know if they were that hot. It's kind of like one of those things. What's that movie? Hall Pass or something, when they do that thing where it's like when an average girl surrounds herself by uglier friends, she becomes hotter. But when you go like this, you realize that she's not that hot. That's pretty much what it is when guys come off of a yacht. Like, I don't know if individually they were all attractive, but they came off like a really nice boat and it instantly made them hotter. So anyways, I spot this one guy and I'm like, him. He's the one that I want. And nothing happened. I don't even think we made eye contact. Like, I was definitely trying to eye fuck him. And I don't think I was successful like at all. Maybe once or twice, but nothing. Great smile, green eyes, like so cute. Just really, really cute. And he looked like so fun. Anyways, night goes on. We're gallivanting around. We're hopping from table to table, myself and a couple girlfriends. And finally we kind of like get to a point in the night where we're like, yeah, we can go somewhere else. Let's see what the other options are. And all of a sudden I look over and he's on top of the yacht that he rolled in on. And we make eye contact and I'm in the club, but like you can see out because he was like the first yacht. Anyways, we make eye contact and I'm like sipping my drink and I'm kind of looking up at him and I give him one of these. I was like, what's up? And he throws it back and then I'm like, come here. And he's like, no, you come here. And I was like, no, you come here. Whatever. Annoying. And finally he's like, come here. And I was like, onto the boat. You know, we're like miming all of this because we can't hear each other. He's like, yeah. I go, my friends too? Like gives me the thumbs up. So we walk around. We had to go through this specific entrance and they were basically like, you need bracelets. And I was like, okay, we don't have those. But that guy just told us he wants us to come onto his yacht. And he was like, I don't care. You have to figure this out. So I'm like, you guys stay here. I go back. I like mime to him, we need bracelets. And he's kind of like, I don't really know what to do. And he's still on top of the boat. And then I look down and I look up at him and I'm just like, fuck it. I'm in 6-inch heels, booty shorts, and a bra. Like that was my outfit. I gracefully sit down on top of this wall. I look over. It's about 6 foot drop, something like that, with my little YSL bag, my cocktail, and my wits somehow about me. I swing a leg over and I kind of just like went like this, like teetered myself over. Thank God my heels are so high and my legs are so long. And if you can imagine, I can't even do it. I was like this and I went like this and I went boop. And then I swung this leg over and boom, I was on the dock. Very much not allowed at this place. If I had not done it so gracefully, I would have gotten kicked out. But in true Emma fashion, I wasn't going to let this stop me. So I was like, I'm getting on this boat. So he laughs at me, comes down. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe you just did that. And I was like, thank you so much. Same. And I'm like, you need to go get my friends. So he gets like one of his freaking henchmen, whatever, to go walk back over with me. We grab them, we get on the boat. It's an amazing night. One of the best nights. Also, I was not supposed to be there. I extended my trip. So this was like kismet in my mind. I'm like, oh my God, we're meant to be. Anyways, this is where the future faking begins. This man, within the first 20 minutes, we're like making out. And he's sitting there being like, you're the woman of my dreams. I want to take you on vacation. We're going to go here. I'm going to Mexico tomorrow. You need to come with me. It's my company trip. Like, I want you to come. And I was like, I don't have my passport. And he was like, why don't you have your passport? I was like, I'm sorry. I'm going to Florida. I don't need my passport. But clearly I'm now going to carry it with me anywhere I go, just in case I get some sort of unsolicited international travel offer. But that's neither here nor there. So in the moment, I literally sat there and I was just like, okay, this is all bullshit. Just like enjoy it. Just lean in. He's hot. You guys are having fun. You're on a boat. They were like sailing us all around Miami. It was just going to be a great night. And it was. We had so much fun. We ended up like going to another club. We end up like all going back to our house and whatever. I stayed over, no big deal. And in the morning, I was kind of just like, this was fun. Couldn't find some of my belongings. And I basically was just like, I'm going to eat that. He was like, oh, I'll grab it for you. And I was like, that doesn't matter. I'm never going to see you again. And I left. And I thought that was it. And it was, for all intents and purposes. He did not text me. So I kind of just buried him in my mind. And I was like, that was fun. 5 days later, he texts me, like sends me a picture of like his football spread on the yacht, whatever. We had like a back and forth for 2 seconds. And then like, that was it again. And I was like, this guy's just a fuckboy. Put him in a box. I put him in the fuckboy box. Fine. No harm, no foul. Because I sat there that first night and I was like, everything he's saying is bullshit. Because I know that none of that can be true because we do not know each other. There's no data, no consistency, whatever. So this is where it gets interesting. So this is like, well, you guys will be listening to this in like a week. So for you, this is like a month ago. This is a while ago. I just want to make that disclaimer for wherever I am in my life in a week. Anyways, he texted me a few days later. So now we're like a week and a half out of Art Basel. And he goes, are you in the city this weekend? This man lives in Miami. So I'm like, why is he asking me if I'm in New York City this weekend? Not gonna lie, I squealed. Like I was really excited. Him and I did have such great chemistry and I was really attracted to him and like the sexual tension was good. Like everything was amazing. But it was like too good to be true in my mind that night. So he asked me if I'm in the city. I was like, I sure am. And he was like, can I take you to dinner tonight? And I was like, you sure can. Canceled all of my plans. I was like, fuck it. I'm just gonna lean into this. He comes into the city. Oh, he was like outside of the city for a work thing. So he had to come into the city. He got a hotel. We meet up, kind of like a late dinner. It was like 9:30 and immediately out of the gate. Haven't been able to stop thinking about you. Never smiled so much in my entire life the night that we met. I really like you. Like you're someone I can see myself with. And I'm like glitching, just being like, totally. And I kind of called him on it. I was like, why are you saying all this to me? You don't know me. And what's his response? Who hurt you? Why can't I just like you? I like you. I came into the city to see you. And so I'm kind of like, okay, well, I guess you're right. That's true. I'm like, all right, well, maybe this is my Prince Charming. Maybe this is my fantasy coming true. This gets so much worse. So about 5 minutes later, I ask him what his New Year's Eve plans are. And he says, not really sure yet. I think we're either going to Brazil or we're taking the yacht from Miami to the Bahamas. What are your New Year's plans? And I said, I'm actually going to Miami. He promptly says, fuck Brazil. You're coming with me to the Bahamas. Now, this is like only a couple weeks away. So it's like, yeah, sure, this could actually happen. But I tried to keep my wits about me and I was just like, yo, okay. Like, you're not taking me to the Bahamas. And he was like, I want to spend New Year's Eve with you. Like this, we're going to do this, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm going to send you the details, this whole thing. And I'm like, oh my God. And this is while we're at our first dinner date. So I was just like, I'm going to try to lean into this. and just like be fun and not be so fucking cynical like I want to be right now. So I like say yes, whatever. The night goes on. We go back to his hotel. There's like a bar in the hotel lobby. He like buys us a table within like 2 seconds, puts his card down, like $700 bottle of champagne. The two of us just sitting there. Then he's like, let's take it back up to the room. I'm like, hell yeah. So we go do that. I stay the night. Everything's amazing. And then he's like, what do you say tomorrow? We go shopping around Soho. We get a drink in the afternoon. Then my friend's having a party. We'll go to that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's my dream. That's my dream day. So next morning I wake up, I go shower, get ready. He calls me, tells me where to meet him. We go, we walk around. We're like hand in hand, like fucking a couple, like a couple. Everything's great. We're laughing, talking, getting to know each other. We end up stopping into a bar, having a couple more drinks. And then all of a sudden he decides to say, I want to date you. I think we should date, in so many words. And I was like, what? Like, you don't even know me. And he's like, Emma, like I came into the city to see you. Like we're spending the weekend together. Like, can you not be so negative? Basically, he was like, this is no longer enjoyable for me if you're going to act this way. And I was like, and I was like, you're right. I'll lean in. So stupid. And so I was like, so you want to be monogamous with me? Is that what you're saying? And he said yes. And I was like, okay. What I need from you then, if we want to do that, is consistency, because this would be long distance. He's down in Miami. I need you to be texting me every day, like not all day, every day, but like a check-in at least. I need us to have plans made at the end of each time that we're leaving each other. And like, I need to see you, every 2 weeks kind of a thing. He was like, done, 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 done. And I'm like, hell yeah, this guy's great. So then the night goes on, takes me to Fleur de Mall, which is a lingerie store, in case you don't know, buys me like 2 sets of lingerie, very, very expensive lingerie. And I'm like, this has never happened before. Like, this is so sexy, so hot. This is just like my ideal situation. We went back, put 1 set to good use. And then we ended up going back out, took me to dinner, went out to another bar, like literally just had the best fucking 48 hours of my life. I'm sure you can see where this is going, but next day, we are leaving the hotel. He checks out. He gets all of his things together. We both go and call our Ubers to go our separate ways. He had to go back to the state from which he came. So he was going to like Moynihan Station to get there. Brings that up, says it. He's calling the Uber to get there. I'm calling my Uber to get home. He makes a comment like, oh, whose Uber's going to get here first? My Uber gets there first. And I say, so we're actually doing Bahamas. Like, is that for real? And he was like, I'm 99% sure we're not doing Brazil. So yes, like Bahamas. And I was like, all right. We leave each other. I go on my merry way. I FaceTime the girls. I'm all giddy and excited. And I tell them all about it. 4 hours later, I look on Instagram and the motherfucker is still in the city and he's partying at a restaurant and said nothing to me. So now I'm like, you're a psychopath. Part of me actually said in my head, like, were you trying to get rid of me? Like, were you trying to lie to me so you can get rid of me? So you can go do this? And then the other part of me is like, I was making up a couple excuses for him. And then I was also like, he doesn't know you anything. But then I was also like, he fucking said he wanted to be monogamous yesterday. So anyways, the dude fucked with my head. This story is getting far too long. Long story short, long story. He went to Brazil and ghosted me. So that's called future faking and love bombing. Luckily, like I really, as much as I leaned in that weekend, I didn't actually think we were monogamous. Like I didn't actually, stop talking to anyone else I'm still talking to. Like I was just like, this is crazy if it works out, but like I don't think it'll work out. And it just turns out he's an actual sociopath. I didn't see him when I was in Miami. He was in Brazil. We have not spoken. No New Year's Eve, no nothing. Like just done. So all this to say, you are never impervious to future faking and love bombing. You're not. People are going to do it to you. You can read about it and research it and know it until you're blue in the face. But people are still gonna fucking do it. You just have to stay vigilant. So this specific situation that happened to me was unique. It was one of those like marathon first date, whirlwind, whatever. But like future faking and love bombing comes in all shapes and sizes. It can happen on the first date, but it can also happen in like the early stages of dating. I mean, I talked about it a lot with the old man. He was love bombing, but then he actually was following through with some stuff in the beginning. So I was like, oh, maybe this is legit. But then it was pretty much like within like the first month of us seeing each other that, we'd be driving and we'd pass a sick house and he'd be like, I want to buy that for us. And me at that time, I was like, oh my God, he means it. So it can happen really at any stage. It could be day one, the second you meet them, like it just did for me, or it can be, within the first, I would say, month. There's no like real timeline on it, but like, when it's too early to be saying things like that, making future plans that are life altering. Early dating is for data collection, and future faking just completely skips the information stage when you're supposed to be getting to know someone and understanding if they're compatible with you or not. And again, I don't mean to be saying all of this as like a cynical, jaded way of saying like, don't trust anyone. This is more of a PSA for women and for men to just like know what the fuck is going on. And specifically, men who find enjoyment out of promising a fake future to women who they have no intention of building a future with. If you don't know what you want yet, do not promise a future that you cannot deliver on just to keep them interested. It is manipulation, even if you don't intend it to be that way. It's that form of unintentional love bombing when you don't know what you're doing. But ladies, it is also our responsibility to spot it. We must know what they are saying and if it's real or not, or if it's too soon or not too soon, like just fucking be aware. So here are some red flags that can help you spot future faking. Number one is big future talk before there is any present day consistency. A future that can only be real with the assumption that this is going to work out. And at this point in time, neither of you know it yet. That's a red flag. Number two is grand plans with no concrete dates, vague timelines, or no timelines at all. Just like, oh, you want to go to Italy? We should go to Italy together. I'm going to take you here and there and blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. This is one in particular that really pisses me off. And at this point, I'm like, do not even try to future fake me, because I do not respond to could, should, would. I respond to confirmation numbers and receipts. Another red flag is that they are just responding to your excitement about the plans rather than realizing the reality. So notice, what is he acknowledging? Is he feeding off of your eyes going gaga just because they said that they're going to take you on a vacation? Or is he responding to the reality and realizing, this actually is too soon to say this? Red flag. And finally, the biggest red flag, if you want to spot a future faker, is when they get defensive the second you ask about or call out the pacing. This is what just happened to me. Immediately, why are you being so negative? Like, what? I'm not. I'm being smart. I'm being realistic. I'm questioning something that does not seem real to protect myself from you fucking doing me in one. That is a huge red flag if you are trying to be responsible and have self-respect and have boundaries, and they react negatively. And then some green flags, because obviously there can be a healthy balance between being excited about your future and then also staying present in your current actual reality, is when they're talking about next week or the next date, rather than these far out future plans that are like a year down the road or just like your 40s, like the next stage of your life. Because granted, my guy did talk about something that was only 2 weeks away, but he couldn't even do that. He needs a name. He's going to be Miami. We're going to call him Miami. Me just adding more cities to my graveyard of men. We've got Washington, Hawaii, Miami. That's it, as far as the city pseudonyms. Anyways, another green flag is that they let the consistency speak for itself. Consistency is the loudest love language. You need to watch what they repeat, not what they promise. And then that they are comfortable just like letting things unfold. They're not rushing it. They want to see where this goes. There's a difference between wanting something to work out and choosing to make it work out. And that requires consistency and effort. And also, like I mentioned, there is a very big difference between future faking and talking about your own future when you're on a first date or early on. But when it becomes a problem is when you're talking about a shared future that is not in the cards yet, or you don't have access to yet. And there is language that can be used to avoid the future faking. You could say things like, the person I end up with, or I see myself with someone who is blank. You don't need to be talking about the person in front of you to talk about your future. You can talk about the ideas that you have for yourself. That's healthy. But like I always remind you guys of here, you cannot control other people. You can only control your attitude and your effort. So a big part of this, a big part of falling victim to future faking is managing your own emotions and your own reactions to what they are saying to you. You need to stay as present as possible. Do not let your imagination run away from you on the very first date. I know it is hard, but people need to earn their access to you and your imagination. Don't be envisioning them in your dreams before they have any real reason to be there. People don't just get to assume that they're going to go on vacation with you. They don't get to assume that they get to marry you. They don't get to assume that they can call you baby without earning that privilege. Because that's what it is. It is a privilege to be with you. Claiming your future is a privilege. And you should never grant anyone access to it who has not earned it. And their words need to match their behavior in order for that trust to be built. And the right person will not need to convince you. They will not need to fill your head with fantasy plans just in order to secure you. They will do that just by being a good person and showing up for you consistently. Consistency over intensity, guys. But if you are faced with it, which you fucking will be if you're dating in 2026, here are some ways that you can shut down future faking respectfully. Because I will warn you, a guy who future fakes is someone who wants to give off a sense of masculinity and this macho peacocking. They want to peacock. So if you do shut them down, like I did, they typically react negatively and they'll sit there and get defensive because they don't want to be told that they can't give you the future that they're saying that they can. They don't want to be told that they can't take you on vacation or whatever, especially if it has to do with money. So, ladies, we need to navigate this delicately. If someone is future faking and you clock it, you could say to them, that sounds nice, but I would prefer to focus on what's happening right now. Let's stay in the moment. Or you could say something like, gotta be honest with you, I like to see some consistency before I talk about a shared future with you. And those are a little bit more like by the book. And if you really want to be kind of stern with them, but if you would like to be a little bit more sassy, like I do, you could say things like, let's not put the cart before the horse. Or I think you have some more hours to clock before we're booking a vacation together. Things like that where you're saying to them, like, you need to put in more work and effort before you have that kind of access to me. And not for nothing, I think that shows a level of strength and self-respect and a very clear understanding of your worth. Because you're not going to have the wool pulled over your eyes. You're not going to be some girl who's going to be stupid enough to fall for that shit just so you stick around and feed their ego. Sorry. Making it clear that you do not fuck with future faking sets a boundary. It lets them know I have self-respect and I don't allow everyone to assume that they have access to my future. That is a destination that needs to be earned. So do not entertain it. Do not go gaga. Shut it down respectfully. Because your boundaries will not kill real connection. It filters it. And do not worry. I beg you, do not worry that if I am too stern with them, if I'm too direct with them, if I set this boundary, that it'll push them away. Let them. The right person will slow down with you. They will not disappear. They will respect your boundaries. And they will want to put in that effort and work for you because you are worth it. And if they disappear because you presented a boundary to them respectfully, that means they're not right for you. And they are not willing to do the work required to have access to you and to be with you. And they do not want to do the work that's required to be with someone as great as you. So don't give them a discount. And if you have ever fallen victim to future faking and love bombing in the past, do not be hard on yourself. Do not think that you're stupid or naive. It happens to literally all of us. And it just means that we are hopeful and we think that we deserve the best because you do. And that's beautiful. So don't become cynical, just become smarter. Try to let real, genuine love in where you can. I mean, I just started talking to a guy a few weeks ago and he did his research and saw a couple clips from the podcast. So he knows that I know love bombing and future faking. He's been very respectful. And he's actually like said a few times, oh, I almost fell into that trap there. Like I almost said, I said something about, I don't know, a trip or something. And he was like, fuck, I almost just said, I'll take you there. And he's unlearning, I think. And I am also unlearning being gullible, I guess, or trusting people too quickly. I think it's, it takes two to tango. But there is a healthy way to start off a relationship and just know that future faking is not it. With this guy that I just mentioned, we'll call him LA, another city. We've talked about our futures and what that looks like for us, but we in no way have been saying what that would be together or anything like that. And it feels really healthy. I have a very firm understanding of what he wants for himself in the future, and he has the same for me, because that is important as adults to explain. Just don't fucking say on the first date that you can't wait to have babies together. That's all, guys. Take it easy, take it slow, enjoy the ride, and never lose your muchness. I haven't said that in a while. Emma's Too Much everywhere. Follow on Instagram, TikTok, Life of Emma page if you want to follow my personal. See the behind the scenes of this gal. 5 stars. Leave a comment on Spotify because those are the best comments. Let everyone else know how much you loved this episode if you did. If you didn't, I'm not going to tell you what to do. That's it. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.